I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Tom, you know this about me. I like albums that are experimental, that pack a lot of emotion, and usually have a vocalist who's willing to emote and be very, very forthcoming with their vocals.
And
doesn't even have to be like the best sounding vocals from a technical perspective, but as long as they're passionate, as long as they sing with gusto, I usually like it, right?
Point in case, David Byrne.
Right, absolutely.
Great example.
Great example. So, we're going to review an artist today who's released 3 solo albums in 3 years. This is the first exposure I've had to this artist, and this person is getting rave reviews on Metacritic for their 3rd album, which is called Loud City Song. The artist is called Julia Holter. That's her name. Julia Holter is from LA. She has a degree in art of some sort, from my understanding. She's a multi-instrumentalist, has a fantastic voice, and has produced 3 different albums in 3 years. In 2011, she released Tragedy, 2012, Ecstasis, and now in 2013, really 2 years after her release of her first album, Loud City Song. And from my understanding, she has this avant-garde to her music. These albums explore lots of different moods and sound, and mix lots of different instruments, from the main instruments being any sort of string arrangements and piano and Julia Holter's vocals. This album also follows some sort of light, and I'm not quite certain on this light concept that deals especially with track 2, Maxim 1, and track 6, Maxim's 2, which I think is some sort of like French cafe of some sort. Has to do with some sort of commentary on society.
Something with the city.
Right, absolutely. Tom, what was your take on Loud City Song? How did you interpret the sound?
Well, the sound was definitely the first thing that struck me. I mean, you get through those first few tracks and you don't really get the sense that there's a whole lot of organization or structure to this album, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. It just means that at first there's not really much to grasp onto, so you just have to get past that. But I really thought of Julia Holter as more of a composer and a storyteller than a songwriter. I felt like she harkened on some of those other kind of female art rock geniuses like Kate Bush and Laurie Anderson. I got a lot of that out of this album.
Bjork, to a sense.
Yeah, to a sense. Although she's not using the electronic components, she has that vibe and that energy to her. But then you kind of have to move into, well, next, the production and the instrumentation. Because the production is very good on this album. It's very clear and it's even loud. I'm always impressed when albums are able to be so compressed, but also pack a lot of subtlety into it.
Bass. I thought,
oh my god, that was the next thing I was going to say with the instrumentation. String bass, baby. Woo! When you can work a double bass into an album, it just warms my heart. That is the way straight to my heart.
So warm
it sounds so great, so thunky, and so you get that perfect tone from it.
There were several tracks on this album where I felt like the bass was carrying the song. It really made it memorable. This album opens up in a very strange sense with track 1, World. It's pretty much just vocals, some light strings, and it kind of plays out like a classical ballad. And it's a strange way to open the album, and quite honestly, I don't feel like it necessarily sets the expectations for what you're going to hear next, because track 2, Maxim's 1, and track 3, Horns Surrounding Me, are 2 very, very different tracks. Track 2 is very dreamy, again string driven, but a lot more aggressive in its sound.
But it just sounds so big.
It does.
It does. I love that.
Yeah, and it's quite expansive. It's a 6-minute track, and then you go into an almost 5-minute track with Horns Surrounding Me, which is it has a really cool sound. The horns are I kind of like how they named it, because Horns Surrounding Me is an apt title, because there's just this wall of really nice horns, and I played trombone when I was in high school in jazz band, so I can really appreciate horns that are blended nicely.
Yeah, it accurately portrays the stereo image of the mix as you listen to it, and that's something that it was at that track that I really realized the songwriting and composition quality that Julia Holter is able to accomplish, because those first couple tracks are really all about precision as far as mood and atmosphere are concerned. I mentioned Maxim's 1, track 2, how that song just sounds so big, but at the same time, it's kind of soft and subtle and comforting. I mean, it's like this loud assault turned down to like 2 or 3 with her vocals working with that entire mix. And I thought that was really impressive, but still, it didn't really have too much to offer in terms of melody or hooks, you know, because she's certainly not a pop artist.
Right.
But then you get to tracks like Horn Surrounding Me, In the Green Wild, and then probably, as you noted, one of the poppier songs on the record, track 8, This Is a True Heart. You still see that she can do some of those things if she wants to. It's just that she has a very clear and direct vision of what she wants to accomplish with this album, and she sets out to do it.
This is a very artistic statement.
Very much.
And I think that no track highlights that more than track 7, He's Running Through My Eyes. Just the name of that track alone almost just evokes emotion, right?
Yeah.
But then when you actually listen to it and listen to the things she's doing instrumentally and her vocal part, which has to be one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life, that song just really resonated with me, and I think makes an artistic statement as to what this album is to Julia Holter.
And it's only a little over 2 minutes long.
Right.
That's efficiency,
and it's
right
powerful.
there.
It's powerful. And really, I value that more, knowing when you can really make a powerful musical statement in a short amount of time versus taking and dragging it on and on. The last track, City Appearing, may be my least favorite track on the album. It's a little bit longer, kind of gets a little expansive, but still does a nice job of closing the album. Loud City Song plays nicely. It takes a little bit to get used to because it's so expansive and so experimental in nature. However, once you get warmed up to it and know what to expect, I was able to come back to this a few times and like it even more. And overall, I think I like this album. Now, Tom, you mentioned to me that you were having a little bit of an issue with it, maybe making me like it just slightly more than you.
Yeah, and the big thing to me is that while I listen to this and I can appreciate the artistry that Julia Holter exhibits on this album, because it is truly phenomenal, I think. I think that as a multi-instrumentalist and as a composer and a singer and all of that, I just think she has so much talent. But it didn't really create a listening experience for me that I want to come back to. I appreciated it more on an intellectual level than an emotional level, and so it didn't really suck me back in. It's just kind of like, it's like looking at a painting that you think, wow, it took a lot of skill to do that, but I wouldn't want to hang it on my living room wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can certainly understand that sentiment. I think that didn't bother me quite as much, although I will say that the comeback quality of this is just so out there and so introspective.
Yeah.
And so this is not something you would ever listen to with anyone else other than yourself, maybe with like a nice glass of Bordeaux in front of you, right?
There you go.
Smoking a cigar or something like that. But there were a couple tracks here that I just didn't feel like really met the rest of the album. You know, both the beginning, the opener and the closer, I felt both were like a little bit on the weaker side, or just not my favorite per se. But it definitely made it a little bit harder for me. So I think that I'm going to go 80 overall. This is close to masterpiece. I think that if there was, for what she was setting out for, she did such a good job.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't quite hit that masterpiece mark for me.
I'm with you on that. Have I given this a score yet?
I don't know.
I'm going to give it a 78.
So 79 from Velocities of Music. That's a very solid album. Something that we would recommend to you guys that you check out, especially if you're into more experimental, classical sounding experimental music that's coming out in the modern era. There's a very modernist sound. So if you like that sort of thing, Loud City Song is definitely an album we would recommend to you. If you listen to it and want to give us a comment, we would love to talk to you about this at www.velocitiesofmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesofmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what albums from 2013 you'd like to see us review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
Watching